quizzes are in. Originally I made it out of 30. No, not everyone failed. But then I kind of, it'd be foolish if I wasn't doing statistics based on test grades in a statistics class. So I realized in order to encompass more people to get within, and you haven't heard this yet, but within 1 or 2 standard deviations of the mean, I made it out of 28. And that adjusted our mean to a nice thing, gave us a mean of 80%, which originally the mean was like 77%. So it helped you. So basically what I did is I counted the number you missed out of 30, put that score in, but in the grade book I made it out of 28. So basically gave you all a 2-point bump, which is good. And I think you all did very well on it. Was there anything that you saw on the test that you recall that you're like, I just didn't get that quite? Yeah.
Yeah, question 15, the one about drawing the box.
Was that the one that I had given you the 5-number summary?
Yes.
Okay. So let's.
Were we supposed to actually draw them as a graph?
Yeah. So basically, let's say this was the 5-number summary. Let's say min Q1, median Q2, or Q3, excuse me, and max. So let's say I gave you these numbers. Just trying, doing the best I can. So, yeah, there were. So you would have done 2 different box plots.
Does it matter if you do it vertically or horizontally?
No. Okay, so the only thing I would change is this a little bit.
The one on top was a little smaller.
All right, so 3, 8, 12, 14, 17, done. That's all.
That's it?
Yeah. And then if you had the other box plot, try and, realize that 3 is here. So if they started at 4, maybe you start this one. Try and line them up the best you can. Try and draw your boxes accurately. Don't be like Stirrup and draw horribly. Yeah, someone actually did them vertically. I don't remember who it was. Somebody accidentally did this though. No, I want to laugh with them. Do you think someone slipped and fell and they're laughing at them?
Yeah. They're probably laughing at someone in a rude way.
Yeah, somebody did something like that, which we're not looking to do a bar graph. So unfortunately, that person missed a couple points. Did you guys see someone trip and fall and you guys are laughing? No? Oh. That was like the best laugh ever. Oh, you heard us? No, the door was wide open.
Hey, it would be you. We've been hearing you guys laughing.
Gia wanted to go throw a shoe at you guys, but I said no.
You're a little late.
Anybody else? All right, so let's open our books to page 23 is the page that we'll start the notes on. So page 23. And the nice thing is this is kind of short. This just builds upon what we've been working on. So all right. So hey there, bub. There are times that our box plot
What's the number times number? Okay. 110.
I don't know. I haven't looked that far in advance. All right. Okay. So we've worked with this. This is our 5-number summary. This is our box and whiskers plot. Sometimes there is data that is called an outlier. And if you were to graph it, it would actually show up outside here with the same scaling that your stuff had done. But sometimes you'd have an outlier. So I'm just going to make up something, see if I can force this to happen. I'm going to go into Stat, Edit, and I don't need all of this data. This is ridiculous. Who put all this in there? Maybe. Clear, down. That could happen. Clear. I know, it's like, we're going to get stirred. We're going to put stuff in his lists. It's like, oh, you got me. All right, so let's see, ACT is out of 36, yes? So let's say we have a couple of real bright people take it. Then we have some students that are, a little below average, but let's say we have that. And then let's say we had some that are more in the average range. I don't know why I have. Yeah, that's an error. Let's go 18 there. But then you have the competitive ones, the ones that went to, you had those signs that are posted all outside the schools. Improve your ACT score guaranteed by 1% or 1 point. Okay, so let's just say we all have heard about the ACT test. Let's say that was some data we plugged in. So let's look at the box and whiskers plot on this first, our traditional way that we had done it on the calculator. So I'm going to go second y equals. I'm going to turn all of them off for a second, and then I'm going to turn this one back on. So I got 1 on. And I said to use this box and whiskers, right? Okay, so let's take a look what our data would look like now that it's on. So I hit zoom 9. Okay, so that's basically what our information looks like. But it's very possible that we have something called an outlier. I think those ones might be an outlier to the left. I mean, those ones are obviously dragging this way out this way. Agree? But we want to sometimes take into account our outlier, and then you want to try and figure out why your outliers actually existed the way they did. So I'm going to go back into our stat plot. Actually, we're going to do this, and we're going to go to, I'm going to go to plot number 2. So we're going to take the same data, we're going to plot them both. But I'm going to use the other box and whiskers. I'm going to use the one that has the dots off to the side. Okay? So zoom 9. Oops. Zoom 9. Clear. That's why we have a problem. I want that to be list 1 as well. I hope I can do this without a net. If not, I know how to make it work, maybe. Okay, so they appear to be the same, what they have. I want to modify this just a little bit. Stat, edit. Actually, I'm going to trick the system. I'm going to go second list 1 store to list 2. Okay, enter, go back into my stat. That just took everything that was in list one and modified it. But I'm going to change these scores to the higher value. I'm going to try and force an outlier to happen. Okay, zoom 9. Ah, come on. Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I wanted list 1. I did. Oh, I see. Oh, you are so bright. I'll tell you, without you all, I'd be lost. Okay, did I do it? I want to force an outlier. Why am I not forcing an outlier? All right, stat, edit. Let's go the opposite way. We're gonna add a fictitious score for ACT. All right, now, bless you, zoom 9. All right, so obviously I squished it. These are technically what they should look like, but you notice you have this dot way out here. So that outlier might have happened a couple ways. Did I put a score that you can't get on the ACT? If I went and I did this information and I saw that happen, one, I need to go back and look at my data. Maybe I put something in incorrectly. Or maybe somebody got 100 points, 100 times the extra credit because they had the absolute most perfect score and they bubbled perfectly. Nothing went outside. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's not really how it works, but an outlier is something that falls outside either to the right or to the left. And how you can decipher that you have an outlier is for the lower. So that would be like an outlier out here. So this is our lower bound. You're going to do the equation of this. Q1, which you know how to find, minus 1.5 times whatever the IQR would be. Okay? And I'm going to put how to find the upper as well. So an upper would be if you had your box plot, something like this. Okay? Then that is Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. Okay, so we have to remember a few things. What is the IQR? Does anyone recall what the IQR is at the top of your head? Q3 minus Q1. Very good. So I think I have attendance right so far. Okay, so basically part of our 5-number summary. This is Q1. This is Q3. So as far as the box. So in order to find the IQR, that's equal to Q3 subtract Q1. Okay? Q1. So whatever it is, you're going to take, either you want to find something to the left or find something to the right. So let's do the 5-number summary. Let's say we knew that we had 7. All right, let's do 70, 74, 76, 79, 83. Okay, so this is our 5-number summary. We can make our box and whiskers plot very nicely, just with the information we know. So 83 is here, 79 is here, which is your Q3. 76 here, which is your median. 74 here, which is your Q1. And then your minimum data is here. Okay, so let's say I had 5 students that were here for a test. Everyone else was over at the coffee house. And I take a look at create a 5-number summary off that. But let's say you have that kid who ditched 38 days in a row, comes back in, takes the test, and they score a 41. Okay? So is 41 going to be an outlier to the left? I mean, 41 we could see would be somewhere out here, but is it truly an outlier? Is it something that is like, uh-oh, we're in trouble? Well, let's look at the lower bound quartile. So I got Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR, so 83 minus 70. Somebody have a calculator for me? Okay. Do what? Oh, you are right. Yeah, I want like the 79 minus 74, right? All right, so you're going to go 74 minus, what's 1.5 times 5? 7.5? And then 74 minus 7.5? 66.5? Okay, so that outlier of this 41% is a true outlier to the left or towards the minimum. Okay, so since we've already informally defined outliers as observations that are much bigger or lower than the rest of the data, observations that are so unusual that deserve special attention, this concept of outliers is extremely important. They can single-handedly distort statistics like the mean, the standard deviation, in a way that is unreasonable. But when an observation becomes an extreme enough to qualify as an outlier, this could certainly be to the left for the statistician research to make an independent judgment. The reader of the research might disagree, which could open the researcher to criticism. The tried and true rule of thumb has been the developer to identify outliers in a more formal way. We calculate as a lower boundary and an upper boundary. So this is going to create a lower boundary for you, and then doing the Q3 plus 1.5 IQR is going to give you the upper boundary. But there's always things that take place. Now, I'm a little bit of a nerd, but I'm also kind of that neighbor that you probably want as a neighbor, because during the summer I'm always home, I'm always doing yard work, I see things in my neighbors do. But I'm also the neighbor that you might not want, because I do observe. I like things to stay nice. I'm not the Ken Cullen every time it turns around on something bad. But something I noticed, I live right by Powell Middle School, and cars have to drive down a road called Corona Way to get there. Well, all of the front ways to get to Powell Middle School had flashing school zone signs, but the back way in past my house didn't. And there was times, because we had fall break in our district, but Littleton schools didn't, I'd be, time we have fall break, I'd be clearing, cleaning up leaves. I'm that good neighbor. Yes, I do clean my leaves out of my neighbor's yard on both sides of me as well. And I started seeing these middle school people, and I mean, people are flying down Corona Way. It's supposed to be 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, and our house is on Corona Way. But the people from Highlands Ranch that were driving their kids to school would come in the back way, and they'd be like, we sit there, and all of a sudden, zoom, zoom, zoom. It's like, and you got kids walking along the sidewalk, because it's right along Lee Gulch, which leads right by the tennis courts and then to Powell Middle School. But I'm just like, this is ridiculous. And it wasn't like every now and then a car would. It was like nonstop. I'm like, it's ridiculous. So I contacted the city, and I said, hey, I want to see if there's a way that we can have a flashing school zone sign for people coming in this way. And they're like, well, we'll go put one of those things that collects data, and we'll let you know if you qualify to have this or not. Okay, well, at least somebody's doing something. So they put a thing that does data collection out there. Well, when are people speeding down Corona Way? Yeah, before school and after school. Well, they ran it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're like, well, we took a look at it, and for the most part, there's not really that big of a problem. I'm like, okay, well, I'm looking at your data, and I'm seeing speeds of 65 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. And they're like, yeah, but when it comes down to this, and they're like, that's an outlier, we're just going to throw it out, we don't need it. I'm like, but you're not having people drop their kids off at school between like 9:30 in the afternoon and 3 o'clock in the afternoon because school is in session. You might have a handful of people that may be dropping off a late kid or picking up a kid early. I said, you don't have it on the weekends. And you're doing this over at night where I could see here at 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody came by doing 17 miles an hour. They're like, yeah. I said, that's the milk guy. Okay, he's driving up a hill in a truck that has like one cylinder that works. So I said, you need to be a little more constructive on what you're doing. And the guy's like, well, I'm a traffic engineer. I'm like, well, how'd you do in statistics there, cowboy? Because I didn't like statistics. I'm like, but yet you're doing a statistical analysis of my neighborhood? Oh, Stuart's going to be a big jerk now. Just because I'm not good at a lot of things. One thing I'm really good at is BS. So I just kind of, started pushing the issue with it, going, why are you doing a 7-day study when I've told you the times that there's the problem? Well, that's how we do things. So I'm like, I get a hold of the next guy of mine because I'm no longer wanting to talk to this traffic engineer because the guy was about as bright as a keyhole and as sharp as a marble. And I just said, look, this is taking place. So they're like, okay, well, we'll have an unmarked police car running radar during those times that you think you're having a problem. Well, what did the police weren't stopping people, they were just collecting data during those times. Sure enough, they're like, during these times, we're getting speeds, like an average speed of like 48 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. Yeah, some people are driving the right speed limit, but there's a whole lot of people that are like killing it. So then they decide, okay, we're going to put the flashing school zone, because if you do that, then if you get a ticket in that zone, when it's flashing school zone, your fines are worth, more. So it kind of detracts people from actually saying, oh, I can no longer get away with doing 58 and a 25 because the ticket's really. Want to reach out and try and figure out what actually is going on. So that's the neighbor I am. So if that makes me a bad neighbor because now I have a flashing school zone sign, then I guess I'm not a bad neighbor. Of course, all the rest of the neighbors who have kids that are in middle school, they're like, this is great, thanks for doing this. But again, it came down to when they were looking at data, were there truly outliers in this case? Yeah. High speed, or the milkman doing 17. Okay? So, you feel you have enough oomph to go through whatever page we have next? I need another one of these shelving units. You guys steal me one? That or a 110? Page 125.
I was just wondering if I could show you a paper from when I was absent
You can.
a while ago.
Yeah, let me put this in real quick.
Yeah, maybe.
125, 126. All right, wait, 125, 126 is yours. And I'll check that off tomorrow for you.